Hello and welcome to this little tutorial of textures in Anyland. Let me show you an example first of what textures are. I'm here at Fuzzy's home. We walk upstairs to his nice apartment here. And let me show you this marble structure. That is a texture. Let's give a small example. You hit the Create Thing button. You drag in any of the base shapes, you resize it as usual. Now as you pick up your pencil, you will see 4 tabs here. This is the base material layer. Let's pick black, for example, and we paint in the cube. And then we switch to the second layer. This is the textures layer. Let's take this cyan color, for instance, and let's take this little material type and we paint it in, and you can see the cube is now becoming textured. Now you notice there's a couple of property buttons here. We can scale it like this. Just click your non-dominant trigger and push up the hand like this. Push it down, push it up like this, and you can see the texture will change. There's the scale in the other direction. Push up, push down. We got the alpha opacity here. If we increase it, we push it upwards. If we decrease it, it goes down to 0, somewhere in the middle. And the texture will actually become inverted as we go below the middle. So this is the strongest inversion color. This is the strongest normal color. Here we got the rotation. Drag up to rotate the texture. We can scale it. We can set the offset like this. So you can see the texture moves. Later I want to show you how to move it seamlessly in a loop through scripting. We have one more offset here. And we got a glow here. This glow is best shown when you are in a very dark area. Let me quickly jump. Let me save this. Put it in my inventory. And let me jump to an area where I can play around with the lighting a bit more. So there's one area. Meat Beach. Okay. Here I am at Meat Beach. And let me turn off the sun, so to speak. Grab my inventory. Pull out the cube. There's a bit of environment light here. Let me turn that off as well. By painting in this one black. And you should be able to better see the lighting here. Let me try one more time. Put up the light. There. It's glowing now. Let me go back a bit. Resize to make it larger. And you can see about the only light you can see there is the glowing part of the texture. Let me put back some light here. Maybe some background light as well. Let me take you through some of the textures. Let's make another cube here. Paint it black just to have some contrast. Take a bright foreground color. And we take the second texture here. Paint it in, and you can see a square pattern, a checkerboard pattern. Now there's a variant here, which is a bump map variant, so you get a little bit of surface bump lighting. So let's try to see the difference between the flat version and the bump map version. This is the flat version. Look at the texture here. This is the bump map version. It's a bit hard to see with the black background. Let me give it a bit of a brighter square here. Let's try to see the difference here. On the line here, it's a flat overlap. I take the bump map version, apply it. You can see a bit of a bevel effect here. So that's the bump map variant. Let's take this texture, for example. Here we have a special texture because it has Additional property buttons here you can press. They always have a plus symbol, which means additional property. Let me click the plus, and now let me click here and drag up. And you can see there's some special setting applied here. In this case, it almost looks like some flowing water or water reflection from the sun. Does this plus do? Seems to increase brightness, and this one is another one of the flowing options. There's another that has plus properties. Drag up and you can see them wiggle. Take this property and you can see the thickness change, like this property, and you can see the edge blur a bit more as you drag it up. This one is a special side glow material. Let me take a sphere here. Let me paint in the base with maybe a very dark orange brown, something like this. Let me pick bright green, and you can see it will glow around the edges. If I drag up this, it will just make it a bit bigger and higher opacity. Let's try this. You can see the side glow grows from edge to center. Now you have a lot of textures to play around with, and they're all customizable. So just page through the textures here and pick and apply whatever you like. Sometimes you are having a shape and you don't know which texture it uses. In that case, just use the pipette back of your pen to pick it like this. And then, as usual, you can adjust the settings. Let's give this a try. We drop in a cube. We pick maybe this one with some background color. Let me add a second shape next to it. Let me apply a different texture here. Give some background color. Now if I want to pick this one, I just pipette it. Jump to the button here and I can apply it. And also clone as usual, so you will have 3 of the same texture. Now you can also animate and script these textures. Let's give an example. Let's create maybe something that will look a bit like waves flowing. So let's take a little well here, or a little pond water. Let's give it a darker blue background. Oops, maybe like this. And brighter foreground, and let's pick the little water thing. And now, as you remember, we got the little animator here. Maybe let's start way at the bottom. And now what you want to do is you context laser the shape, and you can animate it here. Click the second state, and in the second state you pick up the pen again and you drag it up a bit. And now you have 2 animation states here. Now we need to have them loop or go back and forth or something. Click here and we say when it starts, then it becomes the next state, which is the second state in, for example, 2 seconds. Maybe we want to make this 3 seconds. And here we say the same, so we just click the auto completion here. So it will be an infinite loop. We click the preview button here and you can see it looping back and forth. There's a little bit of softening around the edges of the loop. If you ever want to turn that off, just context laser the part, click the dot 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 here, and then you go to unsoftened animations. Let's try that. Now you watch the end of the loop. It will sort of bump off more harshly. But we like smooth animations here. So let me turn it off again. In the second animation state, you can change any property of the texture, color, anything you want. Let's give an example. We do some stretching in the second state. Let's stretch this. Let's see what happens. So it now toggles between fully stretched and less stretched. And you got many different animation aspects. As usual, you can animate position, shape, background color. So let's do some combination here. Preview. And we got a little animation from the shape of the texture. Anything you want. Now you saw there's a second texture tab here. So let's see what that does. Let me pick the shape. And maybe let's make it a marble shape for the base. Let's pick some bright desaturated yellow tone. For the first layer, let's maybe pick this color and let's see if I can find some marble thing. Is this marble looking? Yeah, this is good. I will use the scaling to scale it up a bit. Actually, let me make the column a bit higher. And while I'm at it, snap angles so it will be perfectly aligned to the ground. And I'm resizing the scale again. This is a nice base texture. What if I want to apply a second one? Click the second tab here. Pick anything I like. Maybe this time I want the side glow. Maybe a bright red. And now we got marble, but with a little side glow here. Now there's another feature. If you want to scale your texture uniformly, you can do that. Let me give you an example. Picking a black base material here, and for the foreground I will take something. There's a hexagon pattern somewhere here. Let me try to find that. Let's try this one. Okay, so we got a hexagon pattern here and a bump map version. Now if I scale X and Y independently, it will stretch non-uniformly, but maybe I want them to blow up just with a perfect hexagon like it was. To do so, just context laser the shape as usual. Click the ... properties here. You page forward and you can see the button texture scales uniformly. As soon as I press this, once I scale up here, you can see it's almost like a zoom effect, because what happens is that both Y and X will scale at the same time. Scale this up and this one will have gone up as well. There's another property here. Go back to the options, which is snap texture angles. Let me turn off the uniform scaling, but turn on snap texture angles. To illustrate this best, I will pick a line pattern. And we have a line pattern. Now I go to the rotation property, and what you see when I rotate now is, as soon as I let go, it will snap in degrees at 22.5 degrees. So this would be like 0 rotation, and this would be a perfect 90-degree rotation, and this would be 45 degrees. So if you have some shape where you want a very geometric effect, just use snap rotation. What else? Well, there's some important side effect for some of the textures, which is a bit of a moire flicker. It's maybe happening for 5 to 10 of the over 100 textures. Let me try to give you an example of what that moire flicker means. Let's take the wood grain kind of texture here. Let's give this a stronger contrast and let's increase the opacity. I'm not sure this will show up in the video, but what I'm seeing here in the Vive, because the Vive has a bit of a let's say, lower resolution at this time, and we cannot do super fine anti-alias softening around the contrast edges here. I'm seeing a bit of a flicker here. This is a bit of a moire and a bit of a pixel flicker, particular if I'm looking at it sideways. I cannot actually see that in this kind of light like here, but so when you see this kind of flicker appear, there's a few things you can do. You can decrease the opacity a bit to make it sort of a smoother overlap. You could also have the foreground and background color be more aligned, like this. You can also try to increase the scale of the texture so that the lines won't be as close to each other. And on some textures you can increase the line thickness. Let me try if I can do that here. Can increase the line thickness here a bit. Let me put up the scale again. And now the flickering effect disappeared from me, at least from this distance. Might still be available if I go back a bit, but it's not as flickery as before. By the way, if you ever want to switch to page number 1, you can just click the tab again and we'll jump back to the first page no matter how far you have paged. I hope this little tutorial was enjoyable and have fun with the texture system. Bye bye.